The reward pathway in the brain is a complex network of millions of nerve cells. Much like students in a classroom passing a note from the front of the room to the back, cells in the brain can send signals from one region of the brain to another. Nerve cells communicate with each other at a junction called a synapse. At the synapse, signals move from one neuron to another neuron. The small space between the two cells, called the synaptic cleft, is where all the action takes place. The cell that will send the message is loaded with round sacs, called vesicles, that are filled with neurotransmitter molecules. There are many types of neurotransmitters. The type used along the reward pathway is dopamine. The cell that will receive the message is coated with dopamine receptors. An electrical impulse triggers the vesicles in the sending cell to dump their contents into the synaptic cleft. After the dopamine molecules are released into the synaptic cleft, they lock into the dopamine receptors on the receiving cell. The receptors are shaped to fit a particular type of neurotransmitter, like a lock and key. In this case, the receiving cell is studded with receptors specific to dopamine. When a dopamine is docked, the receptor sets into motion a cascade of events, resulting in the production of a second messenger molecule. Once the dopamine has done its job, it is released from the receptor and travels back to the sending cell through reuptake transporters. Here, it will either be packaged for reuse or broken down. Once produced, the second messenger initiates a nerve impulse which travels down the axon of the neuron. Once the impulse reaches the end of the neuron, vesicles with neurotransmitters are stimulated to dump their contents, and the whole process starts all over again. Now our receiving cell has become a sending cell. So when does an impulse stop? Does it just keep going from one neuron to the next forever? The answer is no. First, if too few neurotransmitters bind to receptors, the neuron won't fire an impulse. Second, certain types of neurotransmitters are inhibitory, such as the ones shown here. These types of neurotransmitters prevent a nerve impulse from being passed on. The synapse presented here is just one part of a vast system. In order to perform sophisticated functions such as learning and memory, neurons in the brain are arranged in elaborate networks. One neuron may synapse with as many as 1,000 other neurons.